like Carla Barnhill. That's why we've had conversations of parenting. That's why we have had our natural health coach on the show, because there's lots of things that are important, and we wanted to put that all within the confines of the radio program, but not act as if it's a different topic than anything.
Right.
So we wanted to say that religious people talk about lots of things. That's why we call it religious radio. That's not quite right, because it's not just religious radio. It's also conversations about other things that are important. And we've wanted there to be the authenticity of friendship here. We wanted to get to know people, have them get to know us, and for people to be reminded that sometimes things don't work out the way they wanted them to.
Right.
That all of us live lives that didn't go the way we wanted. There's not a person listening for whom they haven't lived through the struggle of things not going the way they wanted to. And the temptation is to take those moments when things don't work and to hide them away from others.
Yes.
There is a temptation in the human social construct, which is to say, hide failure.
Yeah.
And only show your strength. When you and I were teenagers and they had come up with underarm antiperspirant and not just underarm deodorant. So a chemical that you could put onto your underarms that would prevent the sweating, not just cover the odor of the sweating. There was a slogan for this antiperspirant, which was new in the 70s. Do you remember the slogan I'm thinking of?
I do.
What is it?
Never let them see you sweat.
Never let them see you sweat.
Yeah.
Remember those commercials? Because somehow if you were sweating, that showed weakness. And if there was weakness, then people couldn't trust you.
Right.
And we like the idea here on this radio program that, we're going to do live radio, and sometimes things aren't going to work out. Sometimes a caller can't call in. Sometimes a guest, stiffs us. Sometimes a host misspeaks. And we've said to ourselves, I think people can accommodate that. I think people are comfortable having their radio hosts and their religious partners not have things go the way they want them to.
What's wrong with some sweaty radio?
What's wrong with sweaty radio? What's wrong with failure? There's this great statement out of the Apollo 13 movie where failure is not an option, and a lot of people live their lives under the assumption that failure is just it can't happen. I've tended to live my life with a different motto than that. Failure is absolutely necessary. Of course, you're going to fail because that's how life goes. And sometimes you learn from it. And sometimes it makes you stronger. Now, I don't care for the adage that things that don't kill you makes you stronger. That's just not true. Sometimes it just weakens you. I mean, sometimes that's it. It just, I don't know. But it doesn't even have to have an upside. Sometimes you can fail and have there not be a redemptive piece of that you can even see right now. Sometimes failure is simply failure. And then we say, now what do you do? Are we willing to live with one another in the midst of failure? Or does there always have to be an upside?
Yeah.
Are we only committed to one another? Are we only committed to listening to people? Are we only committed to learning from those for which there's the positive side of it? As opposed to, no, you know what? Sometimes things happen. Sometimes our lives go in such a way that we're not happy with it.
Yeah.
We don't like it that way at all. There's almost nothing. And what we know is not that the situation itself is redemptive, but we're not abandoned, that we're not left alone, that we're not done for, that we are not solely hooked to our failures.
Yeah, unless you're first generation Scandinavian, the church doesn't suffer very well.
Yeah, right. And that's been one of the problems with some religious narratives, right? Religious narratives often want to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because as a Christian religious person, I would say that the problems in our world, God is bigger than our problems. But I don't think that every problem is solved. I think rather every problem can be lived through, that every problem won't get the final word. But it doesn't mean that it's always solvable. So we should live in a world of grace and rebirth, not of everything working out in the end. I'm not a big fan of the Hakuna Matata. That everything is just sort of everything and everything kind of works out and everything's going to be all right. Now, I get the notion of that people want a little bit of hope, but the stark realities of the world are sometimes things are just bad and we're not left in the bad.
Yeah, disappointment shouldn't extinguish hope.
Very well said. After all these months, you pulled one out. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
No, it's not your first.
No.
But let me count. So, Carla doesn't show up. All right. Well, Carla's, she wanted to be here, so something didn't go the way it was supposed to go. We've wanted that to be the narrative of this program all the way along.
Yeah.
You're not alone. You're not abandoned. How'd you say it? Failure doesn't...
disappointment doesn't extinguish hope.
Disappointment doesn't extinguish hope. And disappointment doesn't have to be written off as, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's no big deal. Mm-hmm. No, you can live it, you can own it, and you can move through it. And you can leave it behind. As powerful as it is, our failures, our foibles, our sin, our disappointment doesn't always have to have a solution. Rather, we can say, we're going to leave that world behind. Mm-hmm. That's why, as a religious Christian person, I would say resurrection is our story. Life, death, rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Hey, stick with us here. We're going to be back here on Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. Final episode.
This is Tara